Well, at Redline Report, we've recently returned from the big season-ending World Under-18 Championships out in Fargo, North Dakota. We have a lot of prospects to talk about. We took notes on almost 100 prospects at that tournament. We're obviously not going to talk about all of them, but we're going to do a couple of installments here. We'll talk tonight about some of the really positive surprises from that tournament, and then we'll come back in about a week or 10 days here, and we'll talk about maybe some of the guys who didn't perform as well as expected. Off the top, I'd like to talk about Igor Bobkov, the big Russian goaltender, almost 6'4", plays like an octopus out there, has a great wingspan and really good athleticism for a tall goaltender, covers a lot of net naturally in his stance and has good balance. He's a kid who's really going to be rising up the draft charts late in a big way. It's a very weak year in terms of the draft crop for goaltenders in general, so everybody's going to be looking for one goaltender to kind of rise up to as the cream of the crop, and Bobkov might actually be that guy. He's very raw in his techniques, but has a lot of tools to work with. Second, we can't ignore the continued great performances in international play of Toni Rajala. We got a little down on Rajala early because he's a bit of a perimeter player, and he's been highly touted in Finland for a couple of years already. Everybody's been watching him since he was 15, but he kind of got knocked down because he was becoming pretty much a perimeter player who wouldn't go to the traffic areas and really battle and compete hard. But the last two tournaments in February at the Five Nations and now again here in Fargo at the World Under-18s, Rajala has been a force every time he's been on the ice. He's led both of those tournaments in goals. His point scoring is through the roof. So Toni Rajala is a guy who's started out high, kind of had a bit of a dip the last year or so, and now in the last 3 months has really come on like gangbusters in the major international events. So Rajala is a guy who's again starting his climb, his ascent back up the charts, and has probably gotten his way onto the first page of Redline Report into our top 50 again. Some teams may even have him sliding into the top or into the bottom end of their first round. So it wouldn't be a shocker to see him go at the back end of the first round this year. Then we have to talk about the entire first line of the United States team that won the gold medal out in Fargo. Kevin Lynch centering for Jerry D'Amigo and Jeremy Morin. Morin is a guy who had, again, gone through some down times with the program out in Ann Arbor. Had a tough go of things in February at the Five Nations. Had some issues with the coaching staff there, but he once again in Fargo proved why he, next to John Tavares, might be the best pure goal sniper in this year's draft crop. Scored some really clutch key goals at key moments in very important spots in big games. So that's the kind of player teams are going to be looking for. You can overlook a little bit of his skating issues. He's not the best. He's not an explosive skater, but with those kind of magical hands around the net, anything down below the circles, he's money. Kevin Lynch probably elevated his draft stock more than any other player in the draft at Fargo. Played a really steady, strong two-way game. Took all the key face-offs, banged, crashed, created some havoc among the defensemen. And also did some damage at the offensive end, which is something that we all wanted to see. So Kevin Lynch is a guy who, probably not a first-round guy, but he could rise up into as high as mid-second round territory. And then Jerry D'Amigo, same thing. I mean, he's a guy who hasn't been talked about much. We've had him on one of our most underrated guys in the draft. He's been really near the top of our underrated list for 3 or 4 months now. All he does is just keep getting things done. I mean, every shift he's out there, he's working his butt off. He's making good moves and really rounded out his game down low with the puck. His puck handling has improved dramatically in the last 12 months. He's putting points on the board. He's banging bodies. He's short and compact and, really works the body hard. Comes back hard in the defensive end. So Jerry D'Amigo, that whole line, Lynch, D'Amigo, Morin, all really helped their draft stock in Fargo. And then I want to talk about the top defense pairing for Team Canada. Dylan Olsen, Calvin DeHaan. They were out there at every key situation, playing sometimes almost 25 minutes a night. It seemed like Team Canada's coaching staff had confidence really only in that pairing. DeHaan obviously being the big puck mover and puck handler, quarterbacking the power play. Dylan Olsen is a big physical guy who's got a big bomb on the power play and can be the trigger man back there. They both help their stock. The rest of Team Canada's defense corps, really didn't perform well, and most of them hurt their stock. We'll probably talk a bit about some of those players on that Canadian Defence Corps in our second installment next week. But for now, that's our first installment from Fargo at the World Under 18 Championship.